What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's daily market recap. In today's episode, I'm going to break down all of my trades from the morning, and I'm sitting here again in the green, locking up another solid day. This is a great way to start the week. Usually on Monday morning, I take it a little easy, and if you watch my game plan that I upload on Sunday, which gave you my watch list for this morning, you could tell I didn't have a lot on the watch list. We didn't have anything that was super obvious, so I was a little bit unsure, a little bit nervous. Now, some of you guys said, Ross, well, what about Weeble? We're going to talk about Webull. We've got a lot to talk about. Went up 377%. Huge move today. It's now pulled back a little bit off those highs. So Webull has merged and has become a publicly traded company. They merged with a special acquisition company. So this is the same way that Newsmax became publicly listed. It's not the traditional path of doing an initial public offering. Now, Webull was planning on doing an IPO in 2022, but because the market wasn't as favorable, they held off. But just this last month, or actually it was in February, they decided to do this merger with a special acquisition company. So basically what happens is special acquisition companies are created with the sole purpose of bringing privately held companies into the public market. So if you have a special acquisition company, everyone who buys shares buys them at $10 a share. So if they sell, 100 million shares or 500 million shares, whatever, everyone's buying in at $10 a share. So they raise an amount of money and then they take that money to go buy a privately held company. Now, there's different ways they can organize these buyouts. Sometimes they buy a large stake in the company. It's not always the whole company, but enough to do the merger, let some of the insiders maybe still hold shares, and bring that company into the public space. So now, as of, Friday, Webull became a publicly traded company, but the float is 470 million shares. It's a really big float. And it's $58 a share right now. It's expensive. So for my purposes, for my strategy, this did not meet the 5 pillars of stock selection. So those of you guys who are not already familiar with my 5 pillars of stock selection, I'll tell you what, this week, did you not already know? We're doing a 2-week trial. So a lot of you guys already joined on Sunday, yesterday. You joined the 2-week trial, you got access to the market data, you signed your market data agreements, and you were tuned in while I was broadcasting this morning, which is great. But for those of you guys that missed it, that's all right. You can still join the trial starting today. You'll have 2 weeks of access. And you know what it costs? $20. $20 gives you 2 weeks of access. It's going to help, that $20 helps cover your market data costs. Because during these 2 weeks, we're giving you market data. So you'll have access to real-time quotes. You'll have charts, scanners. You'll have access to the news feed. You'll have access to my chat room and my live audio video broadcast. And you'll have access to a selection of classes from my Warrior Pro curriculum, and that's where you'll learn my 5 pillars of stock selection. So Webull did not perfectly meet them. And so for that reason, I disregarded it. Now, I just felt that it wasn't going to be worth the risk of taking a trade. Now, in hindsight, obviously it's made a huge move, but let's talk about this for a second. So at its peak, Webull came up to about $70 a share, which gave it a market cap of $35 billion. But let's kind of look at Webull under the hood a little bit. They have 4.3 million active accounts, and they have $8.26 billion of assets on their book. 470 million shares, $35 billion market cap. Now you've got Charles Schwab. Charles Schwab has sold 1.7 billion shares onto the open market. They have a market cap of $140 billion, and they currently have 36 million accounts and $7 trillion of assets on their book. This is incredible. So what I find interesting here is that Webull right now is being priced at, about a quarter or so of Schwab. But the assets, this is a huge divergence. So I guess at the end of the day, the question is, how much money does Schwab make? How much money does Webull make? But I think you already know the answer to the question, which is that Schwab makes a ton of money. So right now, Webull is being priced really high relative to some of the metrics that we would look at to compare them against their competitors. And you could look at Robinhood. Robinhood has been, they've got 755 million share float, market cap of 38 billion. They've been holding it around $44 a share here for quite some time. But we know that Robinhood also has a lot of customers. So let's see, Hood total number of accounts. I'll just double check this. So they currently have 25 million funded accounts, 193 billion assets under custody. So it's a little bit, it doesn't quite make sense that Webull is priced as high as it is. However, what we know is that the market can remain irrational longer than we can remain solvent. So we don't want to get too stubborn. There's a lot of companies that have had really no logical reason to be priced as high as they get priced, but traders, investors buy them up. So is Webull doing well right now because of what people see for its future? Well, that could be. If you look back and remember my broker comparison, I did a deep dive on all of these brokers, funded accounts with them, trade with them with real money, and I will tell you that Webull is good. They're a great platform, and I'm not paid to say that. I'm not an affiliate of any of these brokers. I make nothing if you sign up for one or the other. But Webull generally, in my experience, was really solid. I gave them a raw score of 7.5 out of 10. They were better, in my experience, than all of these brokers to the right. Robinhood by a lot. Fidelity, Interactive Brokers, E-Trade, Schwab, Moomoo, TradeStation, Centerpoint. I mean, they're a really solid platform. And a couple of things I like about Webull: great level 2. It's easy to visualize. It's the way it's set up is fantastic. Hotkeys on desktop, hotkeys with offset, hotkey with ability to sell based on percentage of position, and they have halt resumption quotes and levels when you subscribe to NBBO data. So they're really a solid platform. So maybe they're an up-and-comer. They've been around since around, I think it's 2016, something like that, 2015. So, they're 10 years almost. And yeah, I mean, people like Webull. However, what we also know is that Webull has Chinese ownership. So they have a U.S. company. They're, like many international companies do, multinational companies. They have they're incorporated in the United States, and they have headquarters in the U.S., but they're owned by a parent company that is Chinese. So I have certainly heard people talking about, well, what does this mean for the threat of Chinese companies being delisted? Would this count? They're of course, U.S. operating company, but I don't know. So nonetheless, for me, the main issues were price and float. But as you look back and you see the chart, you can see clearly this thing went from $35 a share today all the way up to $80. But as I was looking at it, the spreads were big. So this is where I'm at on the day: $12,894.48. And I maintained discipline and did not trade Webull, which right now has a spread of nearly $1 a share. It has big spreads, and it's traded with big spreads pretty much all day, which for me, from the very beginning, even at $35 a share, made me feel like I'd be taking too much risk. So I stayed disciplined and didn't trade the stock that was outside my wheelhouse for several reasons. This would have been a C quality setup at best because of the 5 criteria, it was lacking 2 of them: price and float. So let's look at AREB, because this is the stock that I did trade today. All right, so AREB, this one has been obviously in play for, the last week or so. If we look at the daily chart first, we're kind of hanging out in this area. We popped up, we pulled back, popped up here, pulled back, popped up, pulled back. And today we popped up a little bit, but not quite enough to break out. We really need some fundamental news on this company. Well, wait a second. There was a headline. They said, "We believe Florida will love America's patriotic, God-fearing, Constitution-loving, national anthem singing, stand your ground beer." Okay, they are leaning in. Wait, now I thought some of the headlines they had from last week were funny, but this one really put it over the top. Okay, so that's their theme right now. That's kind of what they're going for. But honestly, I wasn't sure that I was going to trade it today. It's been pulling back, as you can see. Descending resistance lines. We'll draw them a little bit more accurately here. So we had one that came right up into about $9 right there. That was a problem. We come in here, get a little more zoomed in. We had another one coming down this morning right in this area, right around 8. But you know what? We ended up getting a nice breakout right there. That was solid. And then another trade right into the open. And so we got that breakout. We got that trade. This is a break of descending resistance. So that's the 5-minute chart. Let's go ahead and copy and paste that trend line onto the 10-second chart. So I'm going to back this up, and I'm going to show you right here. So this, as soon as it broke this level, now I got a couple trades on it earlier. I got a smaller trade right in here and a smaller trade right in here. And then I didn't trade it here because I was like, all right, this thing's not working well. And then right here, it pops up, pulls back there. I took a nice big trade right there, added for the break of 8, and we got this squeeze all the way up to 850, 860, 870, 880. It pulls back, dips down, comes back up all the way to almost 9, and then couldn't break, pulls back, and then to the open, we get that next breakout. But this, I kind of knew was going to be a problem. Why? Well, let's take that other trend line, copy and paste. That trend line was coming in, well, I guess it was a little bit higher, but I knew it was up around $9. So as we were coming up to 9, I knew we had some upside resistance. We pulled back, and then at the open, I got a little dip right here. Going into the open, I knew if we broke over 915, we were probably going to squeeze up towards 10. And if we broke below about 875, 880, we were probably going to flush. So we dipped down, we didn't go too low, and we immediately popped back up. I got long, got that quick squeeze up to here, took some profit, dips down, was watching to get back in, got back in, doesn't break, got back out, it drops down, I'm already out, goes sideways here, then starts to unwind, halts down, and at that point I was like, well, we broke the downside here, so that's not going to work. So that ended up being, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 trades on AREB with 100% accuracy today. I did not have a losing trade today, which is always nice. That doesn't always happen. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about having like 0 losers or, whatever, but it just so happened to be the case today. Now, one of the things that I'm really thinking about is trying to put this red day in my rear view mirror, which means I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more days before this is no longer on my 30-day view. So today, another $12,000 day, about the same as Friday. That's good. I'm grateful for it. The P&L here over the last 30 days, I'm in pretty good shape. Sitting at 280,000 in the last 30 days. Last 60 days, 626. Last 90 days, 1.1 million. This is a nice P&L right here. Sitting on the month. Let's look at the month of April. So this month, I mentioned this yesterday, accuracy right now is 76.5%. Well, today's going to be 4 more winners, and so 4 more trades. That's going to boost the accuracy up a little bit higher, which is great. And year to date, I'm sitting at 1.2 million. 1.2 million. Average winners, 1,700. Average losers, 800. 71% accuracy. And goal, $18,000 per day average. Goal is $20,000 a day. So I'm a little shy of the hot market goal that I've been leaning towards. If I can do $20,000 a day, it's a $5 million year in 2025. I think it's within reach, but I'm a little shy on it right now. The thing is, a couple of $75,000, $100,000 days, if I get a couple days like that each month, it just makes it, literally, if I had 2 days like that each month, it's going to increase my profit on the whole year by 20%. So I just know that showing up every single day and being ready to trade what's right in front of me is what I've got to do. And days like today, chipping away, locking up some base hits, nothing huge, but that's all right. These are small green days, and they're so much better than having red days. Certainly small red days, no big deal, but big red days, that's what I want to avoid. So is today a day to step up and get super aggressive? Not really, because the problem was we didn't have anything that was really that strong other than, Webull. That was the strongest, and it was a little outside in terms of price and float. And below that, we didn't have much. Now, USAR, this one I did say this morning, I was interested in it. Why? Break of the 200 moving average, but for a bit of a more specific reason. USAR, rare earth. So if we look on this China, I wanted to see if they were doing anything related to importing from China. Rare earth imports are now, well, China is saying they're not going to do any more rare earth exports. So that's going to be a problem for manufacturing in the US. But then you have companies like this that are doing, assisting and strengthening the United States' control over critical supply chains, such as the supply of rare earth minerals and magnets, thus reducing domestic reliance on foreign, particularly Chinese imports. This company fits directly in the current theme of what's working in the market today. In this, not just today, but this current theme with the tariffs. And it surprised me that it hasn't gotten more attention. That's the only thing that surprised me. I thought it would get more volume. So I didn't end up taking a trade on it because there wasn't enough volume, but I do like the idea. So going into tomorrow, it's just gonna be a matter of sitting down, looking at the scans, and if we have something that's up 50%, 75%, 100% pre-market, I'm gonna get aggressive. Unfortunately today, AREB, that was the best of what we got. It wasn't fantastic, but it was enough to lock up some profit. Webull, for those of you guys that got green on it, congratulations, and let's get back at it first thing tomorrow morning. As always, I'll be live streaming bright and early, and if you didn't already watch my episode on my top 3 most profitable candlestick chart patterns, I'm gonna put a link to that right here, so I encourage you guys to check it out, and I will see you live streaming tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Reminder as always, trading is risky, my results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning.